is a beautiful place, but things do happen from time to time.
Oh my gosh, I hooked on this show. So happy. I just want to start with, obviously, you're portraying the Hanlon family, which is a big lineage in the Stephen King It universe. So how did it feel stepping into a family that does ultimately anchor it and a lot of what's to come?
It was a great feeling of responsibility and an honor to be chosen and an opportunity to get to work with Taylour. It was a lot of fun to get to build this family dynamic.
Hanlon.
Keeping us. Exactly.
I mean, obviously, we do know where the future holds. So how does that future knowledge of kind of what Mike goes through influence how you played Leroy and Charlotte? Like, there's echoes that come up later,
I would say, and I'm hoping Taylour would agree, that we didn't go out of our way to play anything specific to lead to where Mike ends up. I just know that, or we can assume that all of the trauma that we've gone through will lead and gets passed down to Will and eventually reaches Mike. And I think they filled this season with a lot of trauma within this family. So something got through and got passed down to our son and ultimately reached Mike for sure. So we just played each scene, honestly, I think.
As truthfully and as the stakes are to the heavens, it was just being as truthful and as present with all of the conditions that make for this absurdly terrifying time that this family innocently is living in.
How would you describe their relationship?
They bicker a lot. Their intentions are both really pure, but their approaches are widely different. Charlotte is all instinct and blessed chaos, which is a woman in her divine feminine. And Leroy is a little bit, with all due respect, rigid. But it's really coming from a place of protection and strategy and doing what's right for his family. Nobody's wrong. There's obviously their shadows are, it's 1962, you just want to survive. You just want to have a home. You just want to, give your child a good life and education. And to be able to walk through the world with your head held high and walk through the world in 1962 as a Black man was no small feat. And I think, and Charlotte knows that and holds that close, but also has dreams and goals and opinions. And it's kind of just very, very much his, she annoys him because she's very confronting.
I think that's also what he's attracted to because, somebody who stands up, it's I know it's going to be an argument. I just asked, what are we having for dinner? It's just simple. And she's like, well, why?
She's like, but why don't you ask how I got here and where I got the carrots from?
You're right. Huh?
She's yeah. But also poor Charlotte's lonely and a bit bored. She's got more to do, but she's in Maine, Derry, Maine. Looking around with this clown.
Literally.
Me or Pennywise? You said this clown.
That's so funny, and you should share what you just said. That was me or Pennywise.
Yeah, I was there's a double encounter going on. What excited you? I mean, there's a lot of themes present, and obviously, how would you say it differs from other Stephen King adaptations or it adaptations that we've seen before? And what themes were you most excited to explore?
Was it different? I think it's different just because we have more time to tell the story. It being
terrifying.
It being
it builds, it grows.
It builds. Yeah.
You really sit in the funk because it's over the course of.
Yeah, that's just another way.
It's a long movie.
Yeah, but it's we get more time with the characters. It's not just jump scare. You get to go home and see what Taylour just mentioned about Charlotte being at home and, cooking dinner but feeling lonely, and then me coming in from work and trying to unload all, my stresses on the house. And she's like, well, did you even ask me how my day was? You get to see all of that and hope that people at home can relate to the characters in some way. And then that makes it all more meaningful when you scare the shit out of them because they do care about what happens to these people. And I think the show, as opposed to the movies, allows you more time to do that. So I think that's what is different about it.
Given this is a Stephen King, I just want to know, what was your first memory of anything Stephen King that you were exposed to? And then a two-part question. What is your favorite?
Mine is The Shining.
Nice.
Both my answer for both. I mean, it's just incredibly acted and directed, though knowing the backstory, it's a little sad what my girl Shelley went through. But Shelley Duvall's one of my favorite actresses of all time. Jack Nicholson, like it's an incredible piece of cinema. And though Kubrick had his issues, we were really lucky to have Stanley Kubrick. He like changed the landscape of filmmaking. And also, I think really did I'd like to say Stephen proud.
I would say the first the miniseries with Tim Curry. That was probably my first introduction to Stephen King. As a child, I did not like it. Obviously, I was terrified. Just remembered being afraid of sewers and hearing voices in the drain.
Scared of the sink.
Um,
Remember when the balloon came out of the sink?
yeah, I
The
just remember.
balloon has
Right?
scared me my entire life. Yes.
It was like
And I just remember the music, like the circus music
music was
that they
good.
played. You know, I think they played the circus music much more in the miniseries than in the current version, and it was just really eerie and slow and creepy, and I just didn't like it. But I have respect for it now, for sure. But it definitely, I appreciate Andy's take on the story though much more. I think it's just more lasting.
You wonder if Stephen King, I don't know this answer and I hope I don't sound ignorant, but like, were children already afraid of clowns or he made us all, what came first?
The chicken or the clown?
I was
Yeah.
just thinking about this because I remember when I was a kid, there was an episode of Power Rangers where a clown turned all the kids into cardboard and it really freaked me out. But I can't, like, you're right.
Right? But remember, do you remember there was a Rugrats episode where little Chucky is like, a clown?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
like, it was like a thing, like a Bozo the Clown, like, in
Yes.
right? That would like come in his face.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember.
You're a clown.
I would say that there's a chance that Stephen King was the influence.
It's iconic that you've gotten into like so many people's psyches
Right.
that we don't know if you created the fear of clowns or if clowns scared us before you came on to the scene.
So putting the pieces together.
I don't know, just like, you know that meme of the woman with all the
With all the
numbers?
equations,
That's
you're
how like it
like-
smelled like, wait.
I know. And it's funny because I'm going to go Google it after, and I'm sure it's like readily.
Yeah, will you
available.
ChatGPT and let us know.
This show's awesome. It really like hooked me off the jump, honestly. I'm curious for you guys, what do you think your respective character actually fears the most in this story?
What I think Dick fears the most in beyond this story is being trapped, whether that be in his mind or in a physical space. And then the beauty of this show is he gets both of those. He gets fully trapped in his mind and in a place that he just does not belong. And that's what he has to struggle through.
And never seeing my daughter again. I for me, like fantastically, my wife saying, make sure you take care of our daughter. And so to break that promise,
Fail that.
with the, man, it makes me think
Yeah.
about my kid.
I
You
was
know what I'm
like,
saying? Like,
you're going to get two dudes crying over here.
Let's do it. Let's cry.
baby, it's crazy.
No, I love, obviously she is fighting for him and loves him so much, and she's fantastic.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Beast.
Monster.
Now, Chris, obviously, I hear the name Halloran and I'm like, wait a minute.
Hey.
I know this guy. And there's such a deep history, obviously, with The Shining. So do you draw from previous versions, and what excited you most, or just kind of like connecting these universes and being a part of kind of the world like that?
I do draw from previous versions, but the benefit is we're all drawing from the same book. So
Yeah.
ultimately, we're all, while honoring the versions that have been made, we all have the exact same source material of where we get to build from. So ultimately, we're not going to be that different because the character is pretty well developed through the books that he exists in. And then it's just a matter of, I have the great privilege of playing him younger. So I have so much freedom as long as I honor what is created and honor where we're headed. I can do kind of anything following the trajectory of the script.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a great answer.
I'm so good at this.
Yeah. And the show, I mean, like I mentioned, I hear your name and I'm like, ooh, and there's a lot of things throughout the show where you start to be like, I know that location. I know this thing.
Yeah.
Hints that come up. Did any of the Easter eggs kind of catch you off guard while you're filming or walking on set and be like, I know that?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, yeah, because I'm a fan of this. I'm a fan of it. So I think even more, not just that, but at times I was like, man, I'm on this set. And like the sets were huge.
Yeah.
I mean, the money that they put into this and just the sets that that he created. And so to be able to walk on there and be like, man, this is crazy. I remember watching the 2017 movie and chapter 2, and I'm a part of this. So it was nostalgic in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
A dream come true easily.
I'd say like a lot of my set pieces are the Easter eggs.
Yeah.
And so anytime I walk on a set that these craftspeople create, I'm grateful. Every show I've been on, I just go, how did you make that overnight? How did you make this so specifically? How did you source these things? Because we're always so supported, and crews don't get enough credit, bro. But like, we're so supported by this amazing set of creatives that it almost makes our job a little too easy.
Stephen King is kind of responsible for a lot of our fears, I think. What was when you were a kid, what was like your first fear or thing you were just like,
Oh, I had a hard childhood. I had real fears. Like, it wasn't horror stuff. I lived in the hood. I was abused. My life was scary.
Oh
like,
my gosh.
I mean, we got to be real about something.
No, absolutely.
Like, my fears weren't fantastical. My fears were the Ku Klux Klan that was marching across my yard. My fears were having a gun put to my head for dating a white girl.
Yeah.
Like, my fears were very much in my face. So that's why I could watch horror and laugh. It was comedy to me growing up. I was like, oh, we would have just ran. Look at them enduring the pain. We've learned to run from pain.
Yes, I agree. You know what's crazy though?
Tell me.
You know what I also feared?
What?
Trolls. I don't know. I remember, I literally remember when I was like 6 or 7 years old, waking up in the middle of the night and running downstairs to my mom's room because I was scared that they would come in the window, and then they would come in the window in her room. It's kind of crazy, but I remember it was trolls. Like, remember Fraggle Rock?
Yeah.
Those big things?
Yeah.
Those big
Oh,
things.
terrifying.
Yes.
Like, they were a kid's show.
Yeah.
Right. Come on, bro.
But they would come in my sleep. I would have nightmares of that.
I
I
remember
forgot about it until you asked me.
there was a movie called House, I want to say, and there was a hand that just walked around and terrorized people. I do remember my mom's boyfriend at the time. He would, like, when I'm asleep, he'd come in and do stuff in my bed. I was afraid of random hands without bodies. Which, that makes sense.
no, it does. It does. My granddad used to bake cockroaches in my bed. It was horrible.
Oh, that's nice. Thanks. No trauma there.
Not at all. I'm not scared of them at all. What is the first exposure to Stephen King that you recall? And then 2-part question, what is your favorite?
Shawshank Redemption for me. It's one of that and Green Mile. They're, just for me, they're two of my favorite, I think, films, period. I mean, Coffee.
Very good.
Oh man, broke my heart. And Green Mile, Shawshank. Oh, come on. It's so, the challenge is, that's an unfair question because he has a lot of classics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My first was reading The Shining, because I had a weird childhood where I read stuff like that as a kid. And then the second was reading It. And then it's just seeing all these manifestations of things. I read The Stand.
Yeah.
And then I think I've watched every manifestation of his work.
Yeah, and The Stand came out on HBO.
Was Jane?
Might have been.
I think so.
Yeah.
This show, I mean, it was kind of what you were mentioning, is that the storyline mixes, the paranormal, the supernatural with real life racial discrimination, wrongful incarceration, and then literal ghosts. So I'm just curious how you approach those scenes. They feel so grounded, yet there is so many fantastical things going on the other side as well.
I think the great thing for Hank is that Hank represents the normal world, not normal, but the reality, I guess, of Derry. He represents Derry in a lot of ways. And so for me, it was about really being able to ask very specific questions and to start to probe into places within myself that I purposely don't want to ask about, like really the things that scare me, the things that you don't share, even with your loved ones. but the things that I think about, I guess, thematically in my life. And so with Hank, because he's forced to live in life and death situations, I had to really ask myself those questions and not listen to my first and second impulse, which for me isn't necessarily typically the truth, but to really start to listen to the parts of myself that are a lot more subtle and quiet.
I think it is fairly, unfortunately, easy to ground racism in America.
Yeah.
I've had uncles who've been incarcerated. I've had uncles who've been killed. So it's not a reach. And the best part of my training as an actor is, what am I trying to say? If I can make every character I play grounded and honest and listening and reactive, Andy can take care of the terror and the horror. All I got to do is react to what's in front of me.
Absolutely.
And Andy's going to always put something in front of me that is terrifying. And so as long as I'm just responding and I did my work, I just have to be present. And I'd say that's for everything.
Absolutely.
In particular genre work, like if you start playing horror or playing comedy, you look goofy. But if you're a real person doing real things, but then somebody's hand reaches out the sink and I'm dealing with that from a grounded place, that's freaking terrifying.
I want to start with just kind of, I mean, you have a new writing team coming in, new minds, new perspectives, and I'm just curious how this collaboration with everyone here has maybe changed your perspective on the It universe.
Nope. we know what the universe is, and we love it, and we've got a fearless leader in this guy, and we all look up to the great work of Stephen King, and that's what we do. Those are our marching orders.
I was thinking too, I was like, some of the most horrifying images of like my childhood and my life have stemmed from Stephen King projects. But I have to say in this one, like right off the bat, you guys got me fucked up in this show.
Well, because it's unexpected. I think that the one thing that this show has, and has been a motivation for me and for us, was more than doing an illustration of the parts of the book that were not covered by the movie. It's more of completing, finding a way of completing the unfinished puzzle that Stephen King presented with the book, and then we replicated with the movies. So more than just telling the story of the interludes, it's more about finding those connective tissue through stories and through characters intertwined, and through all this, build up, end up in a very particular way, because we are telling the story backwards, end up in the events of how it became the clown. So there's a very specific reason why we're telling the story backwards. I cannot reveal it now because it's what we're building to. So over the arc of the 3 seasons, you will eventually find out what it is. It's a little bit hinted at the end of season 1, but it really finds its space and its substance in later on.
You mentioned the puzzle and things you were excited to tackle. Like, what is the kind of unwritten thing that you were most excited to just kind of pick out and explore?
So the first one is the circumstances around it becoming the clown. Why? Who was the clown? We hear about Bob Gray in the book, but it's a very cryptic character. Everything is cryptic. That's one of the reasons why the book is so magnetic, because this is told from the perspective of our human characters that know what they know from hearing, from Mike Hanlon's investigations. So the book ends after 1,200 pages. They don't know what it is. What does it want? It's all speculation. Mm-hmm. We take the speculations as truths, but nothing is absolute in this world. So in the case of, so again, the first thing is the creation of Pennywise as the central incarnation of it. But then there's like all these phenomenal events, like the burning of the black spot, the massacre of the Bradley gang, and the explosion of the Kitchener Ironworks, which is these three, catastrophic events that draw so much of our curiosity.
Absolutely. And I will say, I mean, everyone watching the show, there's certain names, things in the background, lots of Easter eggs to look out for where you're like, I mean, you're just like, oh, wait, I know that. What, I mean, I know you can't talk about much of it, and it's kind of for us to find along the way, but what were you most excited, like, what were you so excited to just include, and what should we be looking out for?
Well, that's the other stimulation of this show, is that we will let the audience fill the gaps. There will be certain character that will appear, and some people will realize sooner or later that is related to that loser that we know from first movie. And there's like a hidden network of connections that people will slowly understand through the course of season one, and that's probably the most exciting game that we're proposing.
And not only with our losers or our benign characters, there's also exploration on, blood ties of our more controversial characters.
And then lastly, I'll just ask, I know people love Bill Skarsgård's Pennywise, and throughout the show, there's moments where he's teased. So what were the conversations just about how much to put him out there, how much to hold back, and when we're going to see him?
Well, it's been always very important from the first movie to treat him as a very unpredictable character. And in order to do that, you cannot have the audience get comfortable with him. He's I've said this before, but he is our shark. And you got to bring him out with all his complexity in the right moments. Otherwise, it loses its power. And I am absolutely convinced that he is still as terrifying as he is because of that dosification.
Yeah.
You understand that build up and that anticipation that is like intentional.
And also we're
going to delay the apparition of the clown.
Yeah. The benefit of him being of it being a shapeshifter is that we can surprise the audience with other evils and other nightmares.
Incarnations.
That, will terrify you just as much.
So he's there, but he's not.
Yeah.
Or he's not there, but he is.
Congrats on the series.
Thank you. Thanks.
Gave me a bunch of new fears. Thank you so much.
Oh, good. Excellent. Excellent.
I always think about when the balloon from the It miniseries is ingrained in my head forever. And then watching this, even the first episode, I was like, well, that's gonna fuck me up.
I love it.
That was our intent. So we're thrilled to hear that.
Did you dream about coming out of your mom's belly again?
That honestly, a demon baby flying off an umbilical cord was fucking insane.
Yeah. It's a good way to jump. Good way to start off.
So I guess just to start from there, how did you kind of navigate about how you wanted to introduce us, the audience, to this kind of new chapter of Pennywise, It, and Derry?
Oh gosh, we wanted to introduce the audience in a way that felt both familiar and fresh. We know that there are often an animating incident that starts this story. Obviously, in the films and in the book, it's Georgie. It's Bill Denborough's brother who goes missing and is taken into the sewers. So it felt like an organic way to start this series and this journey would be to see another kid taken by it. But we wanted to do it in a totally fresh, surprising, unexpected way. We wanted to try to do it without the benefit of the familiar Pennywise iteration of it. And we wanted to take advantage of the time period. It's 1962. People are worried about nuclear war and radiation and all the things that reasonably you'd be worried about at that era. And it all came together in that idea for the set piece, which was one of the first things that I wrote. One of the first things from the very earliest outline was that idea for the introduction. And obviously the story of Matty Clements and his disappearance sets in motion all the events of the story. So it felt like the right way to welcome audiences back to Derry.
And being that it's 1962, it's nice to start off with, what's considered a squeaky clean, nuclear family from, a certain time in American history and, something that we actually look back on and idealize sometimes. And then to rip the mask off of that and show the rot underneath. which is, a lot more akin to the truth.
I also think it was nice to, I remember people always asking about the movie. Well, Derry's so bad. Why don't you just leave? Get out. This place is terrible. And now you have.
What do you tell them?
Well, I tell him, look at poor Maddie Clements. Maddie Clements was trying to do just that. Getting out of Derry's a lot harder than it looks.
Yeah.
And so, it felt right for a variety of reasons.
Also cut with maybe the cutest title sequence.
Oh, they knocked it out of the park with the title sequence. Yeah.
And obviously, we know we're kind of building towards Pennywise, and there's a lot of hints in the early episodes. But how do you decide how much to show Pennywise early on versus what to hold back for impact?
I mean, there are two movies that are full of Pennywise, and we love him, and Bill is absolutely incredible. The benefit of this, of long-form storytelling, is we can spend a little bit more time on the other forms that Pennywise can take to scare the characters. And again, the benefit of long-form storytelling is you can delve more deeply into the characters. You can learn more about what makes them tick, what they actually do fear based on the things that they've gone through. And, if you really want to scare people, make it personal. And we try to take these characters and make the things that Pennywise come at them with very, very personal, very, very close to home. And you want to portion out Bill. We know the character Pennywise is there. Early on, you hear his voice, you hear the laugh, you see the balloon. Sometimes you see the eyes open up in a place that you wouldn't expect them to open up. So we know he's coming, and you really just want to ratchet up that anticipation, because when we do meet him and we do find him again and we do use him, it'll be a lot, it'll be spectacular, and it'll be a lot more brutal than anything you've ever seen in the movie.
I'm genuinely when I was watching even the first episode, I was like, how do they come up with some of this stuff? Like I mentioned, the umbilical cord thing, the pickles,
Oh yeah, sure.
The pickles.
Yeah. A lot of family trauma.
Yes, I think generational trauma is a big theme here. And obviously the Hanlons are one of those. So can you talk a little bit about just kind of going into that backstory of the grandparents and, just making them the emotional kind of through line there?
We were excited to sort of explore the backstory of some of our favorite characters, and the Hanlon family is obviously at the center of this journey. It felt like it was both a fresh way to approach an It story. Obviously, in the original, we're focused primarily on a group of kids. We're not really exposed to the families in a major way. The families are not at the centerpiece of that story. They almost act really more as antagonists to the kids. And so telling the story of a family felt interesting and exciting. It also felt like we wanted to find a way into Derry that allowed new fans to experience this town for the first time. So if you've never seen the films, if you've never read the book, that's okay, because we're following the journey of a family who's new to Derry. Leroy and Charlotte. Leroy, who's been deployed to Derry Air Force Base. He's a major in the United States Air Force, along with their son, Will Hanlon, who's obviously one day will be the father of Mike Hanlon from the original group of Losers. So we were excited about the storytelling possibilities there. And it also felt like an opportunity to explore America. Derry is in many ways a microcosm of the country, in some ways a microcosm of the larger world. And having a family who is fresh to that town, experiencing it for the first time in general felt exciting, but particularly an African-American family who are moving into a predominantly white town in 1962. It allowed us to touch on sort of the horrors that I wish I could say were particular to that period, but feel altogether too timely in a way that makes the story feel as relevant now as ever.
Yeah, and the big question in attacking a piece of material like this is, how do you extrapolate from, Stephen King's original book? How do you make something that's really a perfect piece of material, new and fresh and different enough, but retain the DNA of the original piece? And I think what you have to do is you go back to the themes that are inherent in the piece, and you let those themes help you break the story. You let those themes tell you where they want to go. And I think the themes, in Stephen King's original book, the weaponization of fear, the use of fear as a tool to divide, to conquer, to oppress, to pacify, the generational disconnect, between children and their parents. All of that stuff is stuff that we, dug out of the original text, extrapolated upon, and tried to build a fresh story out of that.
I don't know how much his involvement was, but has he seen the show yet?
Stephen King?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Stephen was very involved. I mean, he would have to read and approve virtually everything. But we didn't know what his reaction was to the finished product until, I guess, 4 days ago. He put out a message on Threads, said he loved the show and episode 1 was terrifying. And that was a huge relief and really a career highlight, I think, for both of us as mega Stephen King nerds.
Oh, yeah.
To have him give it the sort of seal of approval was incredible.
Oh, that's awesome. And also, I mean, I think for Stephen King fans watching the show, there's a lot of little things that will be peppered along the way. You'll be like, oh, I know that location. Oh, I know that thing. I know that name. So I'm curious for you, what were, I mean, some of the Easter eggs that you think audiences should look out for that you were excited to include?
Well, I'll say this. I don't think there's an episode that doesn't have some kind of Easter egg. So if you're watching an episode and think there wasn't one, go back and rewatch that episode because I think there's something hidden in virtually every one.
Even in the production design, our production designer, Paul Osterberry, hid little Easter eggs, all over grocery stores and in the corners of the frames and on, storefront windows. So there's a lot for, Stephen King fans, the diehard Stephen King fans to excavate. But, we also used actual places, within the Stephen King universe that are around Derry. We do use Shawshank Prison, as a threat and as an actual place that one of our characters is going to end up. The fear of going there, we do use, we obviously dig into the interstitials that are in the book, the Bradley Gang massacre from 35, all that kind of stuff. And there are a lot of Easter eggs from The Dark Tower that are peppered through because that's one of my favorite series of all time. But you'll just have to watch and enjoy and find them for yourself.
What is that?